In a little over 1 week, Voyager Digital will release their March data. This is stuff like their revenue, new account growth, assets under management, amount of trades processed, things along those lines. And in this video, I want to give my expectations for this March data, as it normally is a giant catalyst for the stock and will be going forward. So I really just want to give my expectations, what I'm expecting, and things along those lines. So if you are new here, make sure to subscribe to see more Voyager related content, and let's get into it, guys. One thing I want to touch on before we get started whatsoever, Voyager is now number 16 ranked on the App Store for finance-related apps. This is absolutely huge, guys. Voyager essentially went from not being on this chart whatsoever a couple months ago to now being number 16. And what's really interesting, Coinbase has the number 12 spot. Coinbase is number 12. Voyager is number 16. Coinbase is expected to IPO. They just filed for an IPO, I believe it was yesterday. They're expected to file at around an $80 billion valuation, and some are saying that might actually reach over $100 billion valuation. Voyager is now sitting at right around a $4 billion valuation, so significantly less than Coinbase, despite it being literally right next to it on the App Store finance chart, right? And we can dig into this a little deeper here and see that, this growth is actually sustained, right? We saw that spike in downloads in the back half of January when Robinhood had its situation. Then it kind of died down a little in February, beginning of March, but then we saw it pick back up again. And now over the past week, we've seen Voyager sustain that number 18, 17, now 16 spot on the finance App Store top charts, right? Which is very bullish and makes me really bullish going into this earnings report. This on top of the CEO literally saying, we thought February was a good month, makes me very bullish on the growth we're about to experience here in March. And I hope you guys agree with me. Here I have a chart. And this has, data like preliminary revenue, net deposits, assets under management, trades per day, new funded accounts, new verified accounts, and principal value traded for December of 2020, January of 2021, February of 2021, and my projections for March of 2021, right? So what I did here is actually made Voyager grow linearly, in the sense that the growth they experienced in revenue from January to February will, continue to grow at that same pace into March, right? So when they grew revenue around $11.4 million from January to February, I'm expecting revenue to grow another $11.4 million going into March. Now, this could be considered actually, like a pretty big base case, right? Because if if we got the CEO saying we thought February was a good month, when talking about March data, we could expect this to actually, be more than just linear and actually exponential. But I want to give you guys my data for the linear situation, and then you can actually see, how crazy that is, and how incredible it would be if we actually grew more than that. So, we've had incredible revenue growth from Voyager over the past few months, right? Roughly $4 million. I've got them growing $11.4 million in revenue into March. Now, one of the data points that we really got to look at for, assets under management, this growth that we've seen is net deposits, right? In December of 2020, we had around $28 million in money deposited into Voyager accounts. In January, we had $170 million added. But assets under management actually grew 520 million, right? So that's significantly more than there was deposited. Why? Because of the price of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. This is something we really got to watch, guys. As to calculate assets under management, you take the assets under management from the previous month, add on net deposits, and add on the increase in the price of cryptocurrencies, right? So, in January, we had assets under management of 750 million. In February, we had assets under management of 1.7 billion, almost $1 billion increase in assets under management, but only $400 million in net deposits. Because the price of Bitcoin and Ethereum and VGX token went up, The average account size went up and assets under management went up with that. Now, if we look at March, we'll see that Bitcoin actually experienced a pretty good rise over the past month, or half month, I guess you could say. At the beginning of the month, Bitcoin was trading right around $47,000. Now that is at $56,000, around a 20% increase. This makes me very bullish going into these earnings, just generally about assets under management, right? If we see Bitcoin stabilize, great. If we see it increase, even better. But if we see it go down significantly, potentially below that $47,000 level, we could see, a bit of a decline in growth when it comes to assets under management. So that's something big to watch, guys. A big factor of that increase in assets under management over the past few months here has been the rise of cryptocurrencies. So if we see a decline, or potentially elongated decline, that could lead to, a decline in that exponential growth of assets under management. So that's something to keep in mind. Then we have trades per day, as new people sign on to Voyager, as more and more people continue to use the platform, this will go up. So again, I've got this growing a little bit faster, right? We grew by around 40,000 trades per day from January to February. I grew them by another 40,000 to around 110,000 trades per day. Same with new funded accounts. This has actually been, linear in itself from January to February. So I did the same thing, right? So new funded accounts growing by around 75,000. Then new verified users, again, right around that 200,000 new verified users range. Again, we don't really need to look at new verified users as much as new funded accounts, as it isn't the verified users that make money. It's the users who actually use the platform, deposit money, and actually trade cryptocurrencies that make a big difference to Voyager's revenue and their business overall. So, then we have principal value traded. This number is generally a little bit lower than their total assets under management, other than, January here, where we had a period of a lot of volatility and a lot of people, buying cryptos and trading cryptos. We've seen this number be generally just a little bit lower than their total assets under management. So I'm assuming that to stay the same. Keep in mind, if principal value traded increases, that leads to more revenue. So that could be something that actually increases their total revenue overall, right? So, if we have principal value traded of closer to 3 billion potentially, we could see preliminary revenue jump to maybe 33, 34, potentially 35 million. So that's something to watch. So that is why my, projections are right around 31.4 million. If we assume that the growth that Voyager experienced from January to February stays the same, we should see these numbers. Now, are we going to see this? Maybe. In my opinion, we could actually see, more significant numbers if the price of Bitcoin actually continues to go up. Just today, Tesla announced that you can now buy a Tesla with Bitcoin. That led Bitcoin to jump. There's a lot of good things going for Bitcoin fundamentally. So, if we continue to see an increase, that'll benefit them in a massive, massive way. In a week from now, when we get that data, we could see a bump in stock price due to that, which we've actually seen over the past couple of months. Now, one more thing I want to touch on is my overall expectations for year 2021. In January, $8.5 million in revenue. February, $20 million in revenue. Now I plug in that $31.4 million in revenue for March, right? And then what I did here is I compounded the monthly growth rate in revenue by 15%, right? So that's actually significantly less than what we've experienced over the past few months here, right? In January, 8.5 million to 20 million. That is right around like a 2.5x, right? In March, that's again like over 50% growth. So I expect that to slow down. Again, we could put 10% here. Either way, it is a substantial increase in revenue. But let's say, they go 15%. This is obviously assuming that cryptos don't crash and go into a bear market, which would be, very bad for Voyager as a whole. But, if cryptos stabilize, potentially go up a little throughout the year, we could definitely see Voyager hit over $600 million in revenue for the year 2021 and apply a 20 price to sales, which is cheap in comparison to what Robinhood and Coinbase are expected to IPO at. We get a market cap of over $13 billion, or a price target, a potential price target is a better word for that, of $95 per share. Obviously, this could very well not happen. I'm just some guy on YouTube. I'm not a fortune teller. This is just projecting what would happen if Voyager did grow 15% month over month? It could very well trade over $90 per share, which is significantly higher than the $20 they're trading at right now. So obviously this is, going to be a big moment for Voyager as a whole. It will really determine the direction that the stock price takes over the past few months, if it continues to, rip higher, or if it goes into a period of consolidation, right? It really depends on this earnings report. Really make sure to subscribe if you are interested in Voyager whatsoever, as I will have an update video as soon as they release their March data, so that will be very interesting. Make sure to like this video if you enjoy this type of content. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day.